Good evening, everyone. We're just going to begin in about a few seconds as soon as everybody comes into the Zoom room. We're still climbing in numbers, just waiting a couple of minutes for everybody to be able to join us. Okay, welcome, class of 2025 families. My name is Dina Ingram, and I am the Director of Family Engagement at Stuyvesant High School. We are so happy to have this chance for you to hear from our parents, some of our administration, and our students, our Big Sib chairs who lead the mentoring program for your incoming students. I also want to extend a welcome to any of our families out there who are joining our Discovery program this summer. We are also happy to have you participate tonight and answer questions about Stuyvesant. While this might not be the traditional open house for accepted students that we would love to have had with you in person, we are looking very forward to returning to the fall fully in person and welcoming your students to Stuyvesant. And we plan to provide whatever version of Camp Stuy that we can accommodate just before school begins for both students and parents. So tonight we will answer many of your most frequently asked questions, the ones we get most often, to provide a better view of Stuy, and also help if you are still in the decision-making process of whether to join our Stuy family. So if you haven't done so already in advance in our Google form, please feel free throughout the night to use the Q&A function on Zoom and type your questions, and we'll do our best to get to as many as possible tonight. I do apologize that this late in the school year that we were not able to get interpreters for this meeting tonight. However, we are working with our parent association outreach committees to disseminate this information to all of our non-English speaking families, and we're discussing possible options to provide forums later on. So to start off our evening, I would like to introduce our principal, Mr. Sing Yu.
Thanks, Ms. Ingram. So good evening, families and members of the class of 2025. We're really so excited to have you join Stuyvesant High School next school year. And as we prepare to send off the class of 2021 on Friday, we welcome our newest members to join our school. My name is Sing Yu, and I serve as principal. Stuyvesant High School is one of the most prestigious public institutions in the country. And we have a rich history of academic excellence, college and career preparation, and an abundance of opportunities to explore your interests as well as curiosities with other like-minded students. I am really proud to be a member of this extraordinary community, and I want to make sure I express my deepest appreciation to a few people. First, to our staff members who are here tonight, our Assistant Principal of Pupil Personnel and Guidance, Ms. Casey Pedrick, our Director of Family Engagement, Ms. Dina Ingram. And I also want to give a big shout out to our students who serve as Big Sibs, Alec, Aaron, and Daniela. The influence and support of older students, experienced students who help our younger students, particularly our freshmen, to navigate the intricacies of high school. You're not going to get a better set of leaders like these three and across multiple sets of students across our school. And I want to give a big shout out to our parents. We have such an incredible parent association and such a great family community. It's just pretty amazing to see. We have Mr. Yu here tonight, Ms. Carey, Ms. Parkin, Mr. Sachs, Mr. Shaffron, and Ms. Wei, who are going to be offering their insights as well as experience from the last 4 years, and being able to share their insights, I think, will be tremendous tonight. This year really has been a test and a testament to the Stuyvesant community. No school was immune to the challenges presented by the pandemic, and every day was truly a test to see how the school community would respond, particularly to the unknowns and the ambiguities that we confronted. However, I'm really proud of this community for how we handled the many issues that we faced and the consistent desire to try and do more. And trust me, this community does more and way beyond. We provided more than 600 juniors the opportunity to take the SAT. We administered close to 5,000 AP exams, and we ensured that our students had access to our catalog of electives and AP courses. But most importantly, our students continued to showcase their talents through music, sports, extracurricular activities, and our annual student-run musical production, Sing, which recently happened this weekend. We are a complex community, though, and we're not afraid to tackle hard issues, whether it's a global pandemic or the societal issues that our city and country experience this year. This is what a highly engaged, highly productive, and highly dedicated community does. We don't shy away from hard conversations, and we certainly did not do so this year, perhaps in the hardest year ever. But I share this because this is the type of community you're going to be joining. Everything we do, we try and we do to the fullest. Easy is not what this community is after. We want to do more and we want to be more. And this is what is expected of every young person who joins Stuyvesant High School. In Stuyvesant, you're going to be surrounded by motivated, talented peers who are going to bring out the best in you. It's not going to be easy. I'll be very certain about that. But anything that is meaningful normally isn't. You're going to have to work, and you're going to have to work hard. But if you do, you're going to be seen, you're going to be heard, and you're going to feel relevant. Now tonight, you're going to get a lot of information, but I'm going to ask you to do something as you listen and as you prepare for your well-deserved summer break. I want you to RELAX. I want you to relax. There are still many questions that are going to await us, and we're going to give more during the summer, and we're going to continue to give updates throughout the year and throughout the summer in preparation for the new year. But please note, we're expecting a full reopening. Listen, now I'm going to be the front of the line. I have not yet been able to see the entire school community in our building, so I will be the first to advocate for that to happen. But while we do, again, I do ask you to relax. Listen and learn tonight. There will be plenty of time to get more information from the school, and I promise we will do so. And if there's anything that I've learned this year, I've realized how lucky I am to have an entire school community with me, and that's what you're going to get too. So please listen, learn, ask questions. You've done it quite a bit. You've done a lot to get here. So just enjoy what awaits you in the coming months, all right? All right, well, now I'm going to introduce our Assistant Principal of Pupil Personnel and Guidance, Ms. Casey Pedrick.
Good evening. Congratulations on your acceptance to Stuyvesant. If you have already accepted the offer to Stuyvesant, great, welcome. And if you're still deciding, that's okay too, because with so many things in life, from choosing the right apartment to accepting the right job offer to choosing a mate to choosing where to go on vacation, it's a big decision, and we're looking for the right fit. So we're going to say some really wonderful things tonight about Stuyvesant, but if you're still on the fence, absolutely know that don't just go with the name, go what feels right in your heart. I am the assistant principal of our wonderful school counseling department. And one of the things that we're very proud of is Stuyvesant's commitment to a low student to counselor ratio. So in the state of New York, it's a ratio of over 600 students to one counselor. Nationally, it's over 470 students to one counselor. So at Stuyvesant, we have fewer than 300 to one counselor. And then on top of that, come your junior year, you're actually going to gain a counselor in the college counseling office. So we will take care of your social emotional needs with one counselor for all 4 years. And then you add in the person who's going to lead you and your family through the application process for colleges come your junior year. So, like I said, we are here to support the social, emotional, and academic needs of your child, or you, the child, if you're listening. And we definitely want to acknowledge and be very aware that there is going to be a transition back to school in general come this September, let alone the fact that you're transitioning to your high school career. So we are adding a clinical social worker through a community-based organization to our team. We are adding to our already robust freshman seminar program, and we are adding additional sessions for group counseling sessions. So that's just a little example of some of the things that we're doing to be very aware of you making your way back in. Maybe some of you haven't even been in a school building since the middle of your 7th grade year. So we want to be very conscious of that. And we usually want to be very conscious of those of you who are coming from small communities as it is, because Stuyvesant's 10 floors and over 3,000 students. So we want to make sure that you're able to find your community. But most of you are coming from really small schools, schools of one in your dining room or at your kitchen table or curled up in a corner of your twin bed. So we want to be especially conscious of that. For those of you who are looking to join the Stuyvesant community and are wondering to yourselves, how am I going to find my place? Or how is my child, who's so delicious and yummy and maybe a little shy, going to be able to find their community? So even though we're over 3,000 students, and definitely coming in as a staff member over a decade ago, I felt some overwhelmed feelings as well. But then I started to see that these kids find their little pockets, their little communities. So if you're into robotics, you're going to find your people there. If you're into the theater program, you're going to find your peeps there. You into math? Oh, you found your place. Into the humanities and wanting to write for our award-winning school newspaper, you're going to find your place there. And then there's our athletic program. That's right. We are both brains and brawn. And we have over 40 PSAL sports that your child can join and be able to create that type of community too. So don't be too nervous about that. You know, if you maybe didn't find your community in your school, you're going to find it at Stuyvesant. So if you like to read like electronic magazines or coding books for fun, you're gonna find your people here. If you like writing science fiction and coming up with poems, you're gonna find your people here. If you like bead club, Quidditch, knitting, cooking, you're gonna find your people here. So we're very, very excited to have you join in the Stuyvesant community. And we're gonna make even more of a concerted effort this fall than we ever have before, which is pretty robust in getting our students to be involved and feel like they're a part of the community, get them involved in our clubs and different organizations. And one of the organizations that I'm partial to, not just because I'm one of the faculty advisors along with Ms. Ingram, but our Big Sib program, some of whom you're going to meet here tonight, those students are really like miniature school counselors because they're going to be someone who your child can turn to. They're assigned to the homeroom. They're with your child through the entire school year, helping them to adjust, find their locker, make sure their locker opens, know where the next club meeting is happening, or encouraging them to go to a club, giving them tips on some study skills because they may have been the big fish in a small pond, and they maybe have had a lot of their academics come very easily to them. And now it's like the first time at Stuyvesant, oh, I got to maybe color coordinate my notebook here and stay on task, or I really have to make use of the student planner that our wonderful parent association sponsors every year and we give out to students. I really need to make use of that to keep myself organized. And maybe, gosh, for the first time ever, I might be a star at math, but I maybe need to go to the writing center, or before a big biology test, maybe I want to take advantage of our Honor Society's one-on-one tutoring to get some extra support. So that's very normalized at Stuyvesant, and the Big Sibs can help you navigate that and so many other aspects of the Stuyvesant community. With that said, I'm sticking around for questions I'm sure our community has, and I'm here to support Ms. Ingram and all of our panelists.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pedrick, for giving us such a great overview. I do want to introduce the Big Sibs that Ms. Pedrick mentioned. Some of them are here with us, and they are the chairs. So I'm going to allow each one. We'll start with Daniela and then pass to each one of them to introduce themselves and give us an overview of the mentoring program that your freshmen get.
Hi everybody, my name is Daniela. As you guys may know, freshmen are assigned to homerooms, which each have a set of 5 to 6 Big Sibs, and we chairs are responsible for overseeing those homerooms. We also organize a wide variety of events and activities for the Little Sibs, which Ms. Pedrick kind of touched on, and those can range from a picnic right before school starts to Big Sib Little Sib dances, and we are so excited to work with you all as well as the incoming freshmen.
Oh yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Alec. I'm also one of the Big Sib chairs. All three of us are rising seniors. Also, thank you guys so much for all, taking time out of your evening to learn a little bit more about, both the parent and the student perspective to learn a little bit more about Stuy and, what the Stuyvesant community is like. So as we already said, Daniela, Aaron, and I are 3 of the 5 Big Sib chairs. Unfortunately, the other 2 couldn't make it, Sam and Saida. But all 5 of us are going to be a resource for both you and all the students that you can use at absolutely any time to learn everything you want about the student side of the Stuyvesant experience. And we're so very excited to meet and work with all of you in this coming school year.
Hi, and I'm Aaron. I'm the last Big Sib chair here for today. And first off, I'd just like to thank everyone who's here, and I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to be here today. As your Big Sib chair, we're here to help assist your child in their transition from middle school to Stuyvesant. The transition from middle school to Stuyvesant isn't exactly the easiest, not trying to scare you guys, but many students, when they get to Stuyvesant, realize that it's not the same as how their middle school cut out to be. So we're here to help with that transition. And if your child ever has any questions, you guys can ask us, ask the administration. We'll all be here to help, and we'll be a great, loving family.
Thank you, Aaron, Alec, and Daniela. There are 150 other Big Sibs, aside from our 5 chairs, that will be mentoring your freshmen and helping them along the way through this process. So they will have plenty peers to lean on, as well as people at school, and the administration and teachers and so many more. Joining me this evening to moderate our panel, I'm very happy to have Mr. Alex Shafran with us, who is our PA co-president. And he is the dad of, you may have guessed, the other Shafran, which is class of 2022 here, and also another student. He is a well-seasoned Stuyvesant parent. He has a class of 2018 graduate as well. So Alec, I'm going to give you the floor to introduce yourself and the PA before we move on to our panelists.
Thank you so much, Dina. And we were waiting for that moment when one of us will be Alec and the other one will be Alex. And here it goes. We're starting with that. Yes, hello, everyone. It's really a pleasure to welcome you. I here represent the Parents Association, which all of you will become automatically a member of the moment you join Stuyvesant. And one thing about PA, and we'll talk much more about it once we get to Camp Stuy hopefully in late August or early September, once the date is finalized. But one thing about it, Stuyvesant PA is like no other. It's super active. It really brings together so many great parents, which is really not surprising. I mean, we have amazing kids here, and their parents are, as remarkable. So very, very active group of parents. We are hoping you will find ways to get involved. Many of us did, and see, this is right now is my 7th year of being involved, and this is just terrific. It's a terrific experience. So excited to be here. Dina, thank you for having me co-host, and welcome everyone.
Thank you, Alex. So we're going to be swapping back and forth with your questions from the Q&A. I did notice that some people are raising their hands, but we won't be able to call on you to speak. So please do put your questions in the Q&A so that Alex and I can see them and pass them on to the panelists, as well as the ones that you've submitted in advance. We'll be touching upon all those. So I'd like to introduce our panel that we are so happy that joined us this evening. Maybe we can start with Ms. Parkin, and then Laura, maybe you can pass on to the next parent and introduce yourself, what grade your child is in. And then I did ask if there was one thing that you wish you knew as an incoming parent. Please go ahead and share if you'd like, and then just pick another panelist to pass to.
Thanks so much, Dina. I just want to add my congratulations to all of you families and students. And I have a daughter. She is currently a sophomore, so she's a rising junior. I don't know where the time has gone. There are a couple of things that I feel like I stumbled into the activity of the Parents Association. And It was literally blind luck. I walked in, there was Alex. He grabbed me and he said, "We need volunteers." And it's been one of the most wonderful experiences of the past 2 years. So I would just say to the parents out there, be intentional. You know, it would be great if I had known, I would have been seeking out Alex. The other thing is everyone's really approachable. So I would have told my daughter, I would just more encourage her, reach out to the teachers. It's a huge school. It can feel pretty impersonal. And there are just these thousands of super smart kids everywhere. And what struck me was, even with all of that, I looked at the first English paper that my daughter was graded, and it was detailed feedback and personal, and I didn't expect that. So I would say, know that people know your child and that you can approach people. And I'm going to call on Thomas next.
Thanks, Laura. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a wonderful community. I've been involved for about 3 years. My son is a rising senior. His name is exactly the same, Thomas Yu. But anyway, and it's been a pleasure being part of this community. It is the most energetic school you will find in New York City. And I say that with great confidence. But so I just wanted to share that being part of Stuyvesant is like, I like to use metaphors and an analogy. It's part of entering into a large hotel buffet. It is, you will find the finest cuisines offered. You'll have the steak corner, you'll have the lobsters, you'll have the pasta. It is wonderful array of fine dishes. Have it is a buffet, not a service. So grab your plates, look around, and be diligent, and you will enjoy the most wonderful meal on this planet. That's how I view Stuyvesant, and I encourage everyone to be very exploratory, just explore very well, but also don't get too caught up in the pasta corner. Explore and just enjoy the entire process. Thank you. And I'd like to pass along to Patty.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. My name is Patty Carey, and I have a rising junior, Roxy Perazzo. And I've been thinking about what Dina asked and what we would have liked to have known. And I think we all know that our kids are smart and they're hardworking, and they got into Stuy and they belong to be there. So I think my thought process is more what I wish I remembered, which is I wish I remembered all the time that she is smart and hardworking, because she's also a little reserved and she doesn't always jump in first in the way that I might do things. And as Ms. Patrick said, there's so much to do at Stuyvesant. Everybody can find their corner, but sometimes it takes time. So I wish I'd remembered how strong and smart and what a great kid I have, and that she doesn't need to be the president of the freshman class and the star of the volleyball team and the captain of everything on day one. That it's a big school and you'll find your corner, but it may take time, and to give your kids the opportunity to do that, to try a lot of things. There's so many big school events, like Sing was mentioned, where you can take a smaller part and find your way and work yourself up potentially into a leadership position. And you're not always in competition with all the other kids, because everybody can find their own place, as Ms. Patrick was saying. But for a lot of kids, it takes time, and that's okay. And, I really recommend that we remember, we know our kids and we know that they're strong and they're smart, but it may take time at a big school like this, and it's okay. And congratulations on being here.
So we'll pass it to Celine, our last panelist.
Hello, I'm Celine Wei. I have Zoe, that is class of 2023, and I also have a freshman, Otto, that is we're very lucky to have a second child in this wonderful school. And first of all, yes, congratulations to all the fellow freshman families. I came to this country for grad study. I myself did not have the fortune of going to a public education here, but my husband and I both went through public education. We have great confidence in public education in our countries and now in New York City as well. I wanted to say that for our first child, Zoe came to the school. It's quite interesting because she actually learned about there was a sing, which was greatly praised and advertised. And to its own credit, it has been a great experience for her. And also the orchestra. These are the two main things that brought her to the school. So I know you don't hear this every day about Stuyvesant, but it's really true. And in turn, when she was advocating for Stuyvesant for our auto, what she said, I remember, was Stuyvesant has so many different things that you can get involved in. You would definitely find something that you want. And our auto is a hockey player, is an athlete, he likes math, he likes history. And I think it really says a lot about the school for the kids. Zoe has a great admiration for her classmates and people in the school. Other than, she doesn't say as much people are smart. She usually says that people are very hardworking and just really nice kids. She's very happy to be in school with full of nice kids. That's like the first thing that she would tell people about Stuyvesant. As a parent, my husband and I we were both members of the PA. And again, we're also pulled in by Alex from our very first parent meeting. I remember in the lobby. So it is really a wonderful group of people. I was co-chairing faculty reception, and we always have, we actually have a problem stopping people from volunteering, wanting to come and serve and meet the teacher and be part of the community. I think that says a lot about this friendly and really energetic community. So again, congratulations, and I'm happy to answer questions based on our family's experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Celine. And Celine is joining us as also this evening one of our incoming parents, because we know you have a class of 2025 student coming in. So she's experienced, and also we'll have a second one at Stuy. Congratulations, Celine. And I'm losing track of my Zoom squares because we still have another panelist to introduce, Mr. Ethan Sachs.
Good evening and welcome everyone. My daughter is a rising senior, and she's actually the sixth member of our family to go to Stuy, including myself, and dating all the way back to the 1920s. So Stuy has been an important part of my family, certainly for a long time. And I think if there was one thing that I really, wish I knew and obviously came to know over time is, a lot of these students, they can design and build robots, but they are not robots. And I think I always say, don't sleep on the sleep. You need to provide support for them. They need to, make time to do more than just academics, to take care of themselves. If they need help in certain subjects, help them, whether that's anything from tutoring or leaning on guidance counselors. The school has some tremendous guidance counselors that can be advocates for them. And so, I definitely think that sort of taking care of them as they are, doing their incredible academics is an important thing to keep in mind. And also, last thing I'll say is I'm also on the PA, and I basically run the newsletter. So assuming you're all coming in, please register for the newsletter, because we definitely, get a lot of the information about the PA out that way.
Thank you, Ethan. And I will put in the chat how you can join and for the PAE news. It's called, that Ethan takes care of every week, gets delivered to an email. And we share, those of you who wish to share your email addresses, you will automatically be on the PA's email list. And so you'll get 2 documents every week that'll keep you informed through email about Stuyvesant, my weekly update, and then also the PA e-news should you opt in. So we have so very many questions that have already come in. We know that you're very curious, and this is an exciting time. It's filled with a little bit of apprehension, but mostly excitement to be accepted to Stuyvesant. So I know that so many of our panelists touched on so many things about Stuy already that I know answered some of your questions. One of the things that was not touched upon is something that we get asked a lot. It came in many times. Our school does accommodate all 5 boroughs of New York City, and we have students that are commuting from everywhere. So maybe one of the panelists would like to start with what the commute is like, maybe where you can share where your child commutes from if you'd like, you don't have to, and also what transportation options there are. And of course, we'll jump in with some other details as well. Anybody who'd like to start off from the panel can unmute.
Sure, I have a long commute. We are based in Bayside, New York. It's in Queens. It's the eastern part of Queens. So we access school via Long Island Railroad. So, and in the mornings, there are express trains. So it's usually about 25-minute ride from Bayside Station to Long Island Railroad. And then from the Penn Station to Chambers Street, there are some express subways. So door to door, from at least from railroad to door, it's usually about an hour, and it's relatively quite simple and very reliable.
Thank you, Mr. Yu. Anybody traveling from another borough that would like to share their experience, their child's experience, or the students commuting to Stuy and what that's like?
Real quick about the Long Island Railroad, that we do provide the paperwork that is needed for a student discount for the Long Island Railroad. And then students who are within the 5 boroughs all get access to a Mature card as long as they don't live, 2 blocks away.
Thank you, Ms. Pedrick. And you can find that information on our school website. So once you're all settled in before the fall, we'll be sending that to you. But I'd like to entertain any more comments on commuting. Go
Just
ahead.
a quick note.
And you can unmute and jump in.
Biking on West Side Highway is a great way to get to school if you're on the west side.
Thank you. Thank you. For our Manhattanites, yeah, I see a lot of biking and scooters as well. So we have a lot of modes of transportation. There is also a question related to commuting that maybe either Alex or some other parent can expand upon. The school bus. We know that in some other schools, there are outside school buses that can be hired, and maybe our PA can talk a little bit. You can talk a little bit about what our PA is arranging for incoming students and students of all grades, actually.
Sure. Thank you, Dina. So this year, a group of parents actually worked with an independent bus service company that is investigating already established 3 routes of lines that will be bringing kids from Queens. And they're actually investigating if similar could be done from certain parts of Brooklyn and etc. So what you need to do is that if you're interested in this option, it is really between you and the busing company, but we will be happy to connect you with them if you email us at contactpa@stuy-pa.org. I'll put that into the chat, but just email us if that's an option you would like to consider. Again, just a reminder, this is a service that is not associated with school or parents association, but this is something that was worked out and it's your direct arrangement with that company. But from that perspective, the more parents are interested in a particular route, the higher chance of you getting your kids organized and grouped together, and something you can work out. So I'll put the email into the chat.
Thank you, Alex. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of the questions like tell us about how much homework there is. We had a really great question that came in about whether or not Stuyvesant has any diversity initiatives or commitments there. And we also were asked whether there is a liaison at the school that is dedicated to assisting students who would encounter issues related to that. And I did want to give the floor to Ms. Pedrick for that question.
Thank you, Ms. Ingram. So yes, every school in the New York City public school system does have a respect for all liaisons. So we definitely do have that at our school. We share that amongst a few of us. So it includes Angel Colon, who is our staffus counselor, Mr. Moran, who is our AP of Student Safety and Security, myself, school counselors. So another thing that Angel Colon and the school counselors do is a lot of our advisement for our identity clubs. So one of the things I really like about our identity clubs is when you walk into a room, you very likely might not know which club that is, because we not only have students who are actively identifying with a particular culture, for instance, but also a lot of allies. So it's been a really beautiful thing to see grow at Stuyvesant. A few years ago, we started our talk circles around race, which has grown from literally me and Ms. Ingram and a counselor with like 2 students to needing to have 2 circles in one of our large classrooms, 2 deep, to when it went to Zoom, being in the few hundreds. So that's been a really wonderful, thought-provoking aspect that we very gladly handed over to our student leaders once it got to be much bigger than the adults. This past year, one of our school counselors, Ms. Brandon, and one of our college counselors, Ms. Wilson, and I joined together to create a diversity, equity, and an inclusion committee amongst the staff members. So we've been doing some of our own talk circle type things. We've done an equity book club. We've had guest speakers come in and speak specifically about diversity and incorporating racial aspects into biology, chemistry, this, English, all of our different pieces of our curriculum has been very well received and has been gone beyond the required professional development that happens at all schools into continued conversations amongst staff and continued partnerships with some of our experts that we brought in from the field. And I feel very certain that I'm forgetting some things, but I will just say Stuyvesant's no place for hate. So please be very aware of anything that you might have on social media, students. Mom and dad, that prefrontal cortex is not all the way formed. So you got to help them out with this and make sure that they're not putting anything in writing, video things, etc. That will come back to haunt them when they've evolved past that and understand how to do better. And then hopefully you as well can help them to talk about these things and evolve past any current thoughts along those lines. Ms. Ingram, Mr. Yu.
Just to add, I appreciate that, Ms. Pedrick. As I mentioned before, this community is not afraid to tackle complex issues, and more as we continue to engage with everything that's happening around the world. It's incumbent upon us to have those conversations, not only inside the school but outside as well. This is why, again, when we're presenting tonight, you're hearing from a variety of stakeholders who recognize, again, this is education. We're talking more than just school. And there are a lot of societal issues that we're facing head on and our young people have to navigate. And so it's important that we engage in these conversations. We as the adults have a lot of learning to do as well, so that we can impart some of our wisdom and experience to our young people. But the same thing for our young people, they're teaching us as well in terms of how to engage in some of these conversations that are not easy. I will be the first to tell you that Stuyvesant is always going to serve as the proxy for New York City, and when it comes to public education, we're in the press for all the positive things we do, as well as the things that people want to judge us on. And I say that because unless you're inside the community, you don't know. And there's always speculation about what's happening or what's not happening. But I say that in transparency and honesty is that we're just like a lot of other communities, we're also grappling with these challenging issues of race, economics. And again, this is part of the beauty about being part of this community. We're going to engage in it, and we're going to continue to engage in it. But the last thing I'll say about it is this: when you join the community, you're an accepted member of the community. And that's what, again, we will always do. It doesn't mean that we're going to always agree, but what it does mean is that you're part of the Stuyvesant community, and doing so means that you have the support of the community. We are going to continue to tackle the issues that continue to present ourselves, because it's our responsibility to help our young people navigate this world in the future. So again, we're looking forward to having you participate in these conversations as well as we continue to get better, and ideally, our young people continue to be leaders, not only in the city, but across the country.
And something I've noticed in my years at Stuy is the students seem to let all of that go. So it doesn't matter what borough you come from, your socioeconomic, your gender identity, your culture. You like chess? I like chess. You like aeronautics? I like aeronautics. So immediately, that's all that matters. You and I have the same interests, the same passion, boom, we're friends, and the end. So you get to see a nice interspersing of all communities and all interests at Stuy.
Thank you both. And Ms. Pedrick touched upon parents and needing your involvement. And we are a committed community, both as staff members and as students and as also parents, because we know that some of things are learned behaviors from home. So our commitment to change begins there, and we're all learning together. So I know that you have lots and lots of questions about Stuyvesant. So we'll get us started from both the parent view and the student view. And then I'll pass it to Mr. Schaffer and Alex, who will also be asking some questions, and we'll be going back and forth. So Stuyvesant is known as some of the top performers in our city, and of course has a little bit of a reputation for maybe being competitive. So what is it like at school? We definitely want to hear from our students as well. What is it like in the classroom? And also what is it like at home with homework load? And how much homework on average does your child do? That might vary in all of you, but we're going to talk about the averages. So just give us a brief overview of what you think of those things, workload and what it's like at school. And anyone can start by unmuting. We're very informal.
I'll jump in. It's funny because one of the things I've talked a lot to my daughter about is you don't have to be competitive. There's so many kids at Stuyvesant. I don't know how you can compete, and everybody is successful. So again, getting back to what we were talking about earlier is just finding your niche and worrying about yourself and focus on what you're good at. In particular, I know for my child, a lot of kids think that Stuyvesant's all about math and robotics and engineering, and that's not her thing. And so I say, make sure, don't worry if you think that every kid in your math class is getting 100, don't worry about it. You don't have to be competitive. You just have to be your best self and your best student and work your hardest. And so again, finding your niche and finding what you're good at. If you're good at engineering, great. But if you're good at history, then put your focus there, and don't be so worried about all the kids who you think are doing better in math, because you're doing well. You earned your spot at this school, and it's, and you're going to do your best as long as you do your best. And as far as the homework load goes, it's so hard to tell how the homework load is, because one thing that I've noticed is there's an awful lot of time spent on Instagram and TikTok. So it's really hard to say what the homework load is. And that is one of the hardest part, especially this year with online school for a lot of kids, is they think that they're doing, I said to my daughter once, she was doing homework at 2:00 in the morning. I said, you got out of school at 2:00 in the afternoon. There's no way you had 12 hours of homework. So the homework load, sure, there's a lot of work to do, but it's really about learning to manage your time and figure out when you're doing your homework and when you're doing not your homework. And hopefully that will come in time. Of course, this is a great training for college and for life and learning to manage your time. But it's hard to tell, in honesty, what the homework load is comparatively to what the non-homework load is with kids. And so if you can help, getting back to what Ethan was saying, if you can help your child and make sure that they, focus and don't spend as much time and get their work done so they can enjoy themselves. And one thing I would say is, people will ask, I saw something in the questions about joining a sport and a club and how can you do all that when you have, such a big school load. And I think that sometimes the busier you are, the more time that you will realize that you need to get your work done. So if you do have a, sports practice and you're not getting home until 7, sometimes that's a benefit because then you're going to be able to focus more. You'll have gotten out of your system being with your friends and doing things. And you can use your commute to look at some stuff like your Instagram, but then you get home and you know that you have the time now to focus on your homework. So I don't think it's a bad idea to be as involved as you can, because that will help a lot of kids focus on their homework. And we can encourage them all to manage their time better.
Yeah, adding on, so because of this common belief that Stuy is so crazy competitive, I expected that my fellow students wouldn't be anywhere near as supportive and empathetic as they actually are. But I truly think that the student body encourages one another. And if you can kind of avoid that habit of comparing yourself to everyone else in your classes, the Stuy experience as a whole becomes so much better, and it's so much more beneficial to focus on your own strengths and find the classes and clubs that you thrive in. And I totally agree with what Patty said, that being involved in things inside and outside of school actually almost helps you develop more focus.
Yeah, I completely agree, but there are actually a lot of very like positive aspects that come from how competitive Stuy is. Namely just the way that everyone keeps each other motivated. Because I do think that especially freshman year, everyone's stressed out, right? You're sitting, well, like in person at least, right? You're sitting by your locker talking to your friends. Everyone's stressed out. Everyone is taking the same classes. Everyone's also in extracurriculars. So there comes a moment when you sit down and you're like, okay, you know what? I'm not the only one that's going through this. And because of that, I have the motivation to keep going, right? Because the upperclassmen were able to do this. They're, graduating soon. Because they were able to do it, they took the same classes. They were also in these extracurriculars. And, I've seen them flourish even despite that, right? I can do the same thing. And it does sound a little cheesy, obviously, but, it's true because the competition in terms of numbers, like test grades, kind of leaves as soon as you exit the classroom. After that, it's very much one just like huge family, I guess, because everyone's going through that same experience, same stress. Everyone's just trying to make it, to the next class, finish that next homework assignment, get 100 on the next project.
I just jump in. I wanted to just build on what both Alec and Daniela have said about this mutual support. What I saw from my daughter freshman year, she took Mandarin 2 freshman year, and there were a lot of native speakers in her class. And at first she was really embarrassed about speaking because while she could read and write, obviously she couldn't speak nearly as well as the other kids in class. And that would have been a situation where you could really imagine maybe in another situation, another community, another school, maybe a little picking on, maybe a little making fun, maybe a little bullying. But instead, what ended up happening was that she got more comfortable. She kind of forced herself to speak in class. And then she would run into a word. I remember she gave me the example roller coaster. She had no idea how to say it. So she turned to the person next to her and said, in English, how do you say roller coaster? And what ended up happening was that they ended up really encouraging her. And whenever she was missing a word, somebody would just come in with that word. And I think that solidified her love of Mandarin. So she's going to take AP Mandarin next year as a junior, and she's thrilled. But it was heartwarming and very generous.
Yeah, I completely agree with Laura, and I just want to say that there's this misconception where like Stuyvesant is painted as very toxic and competitive culture, but something that a lot of people don't realize is that one of like Stuyvesant's most defining highlights, I would say, is its student body and just its community being so like embracing. Because one thing I've really noticed is that the students really help each other. They're always there for one another. Whenever there's a test, you can always count on maybe other students sharing their study guides with you. Students are always willing to look out for one another, willing to help each other in a lot of things. And so there's always this misconception that no one at Stuyvesant is going to help you, that everyone's on their own, where that's really not the case. And I highly encourage, especially for your children, to join extracurriculars and clubs, because that's another way you can meet other students outside of classes. And having all these connections can be really useful in the long run.
There are two things.
I'm gonna jump. Oh, go ahead. Celine, please go ahead.
That. Thank you,
No,
Alex.
please.
Two things. Zoe was actually advising our incoming freshmen that try to get a Facebook account. That kids don't really get Facebook accounts these days. But she realized that her not having Facebook account the first year, she was actually missing out a lot. Because Zoe actually has outside performing arts engagements that she has been doing since she was 5th grade. So when she was missing classes, she would just ended up sending out to the entire community and just telling people what classes or assignments she missed. And friends, or even not friends, but people in the same class, that would write back and help her out or send notes to her. I found that really a great community support. So it's like one great reason to get the Facebook account, so you can be connected. And another thing, please correct me if I'm wrong about the SLT, has actually a homework policy. I think that was one very good thing that parents and the school community got together. If I'm correct, I believe the guideline was homework for general subject is half an hour a day, and the AP course will be an hour a day. It is not always true, but we encourage Zoe to think that way, so that it's kind of a guideline, and sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. And of course, it depends on how focused the kids are. But I thought that's something to consider and discuss with the kids.
Thank you. Thank you, Celine. I actually wanted to jump a little bit more into extracurricular and different activities. So I guess one of the very popular questions is, how do you get into those? When do you learn what your options are? When do you get an opportunity to see different clubs? Can you sign up for some tryouts before the fall begins for the fall clubs and teams? So maybe if I can ask students to start first, and then we'll also have others jump in and sharing their experiences. That would be our advice. That would be great.
Yeah, so every year at the beginning of the school year, the Stuyvesant Student Union, which is like the student government for Stuyvesant, they host an annual Club Pub Fair, which is a school-wide event where it's a great time for freshmen and just any students to walk around the school. They set up stations and booths around the school where clubs from all types of activities can come together and basically advertise their clubs. So they'll have, I guess, demonstrations, performances in like the hallways, and by their booths, they have posters. And it's just a really great opportunity for a lot of students to walk around and get to know clubs and just sign up directly. So that's one of the main, I guess, ways that students can really get involved with their clubs. Another thing is that we have a website called stuyactivities.org, where you can go onto it and go to the catalog, and that's where you can see all the clubs at Stuyvesant. And if you ever want to join a club, you can message the club leaders on there as well. I encourage you to have your kids to look on that website too. You don't have to be a Stuy student to browse through the catalog. And lastly, I would say the Big Sib program, where you are assigned Big Sibs to homerooms. I think those also play a really big role in determining the extracurriculars that you're joining, because it's often your Big Sibs that introduce you to their extracurriculars. And if you're interested in it, then they can really help you find your place in there as well.
Yeah, Erin explained that perfectly. And just in addition to those resources, which are really helpful, most clubs will continue to promote their meetings through posters, which are usually all throughout the hallways and in our Facebook groups when we're remote. And I also just think it's great that people talk about clubs. So you'll hear about cool extracurriculars and sports that you may want to join from your friends and your big sibs and people in your homeroom. So that's another really awesome part of STUY.
That's fantastic. Anybody would like to talk a little bit more about sports and because most of the student activities are about different clubs. What about PSAL and what's happening with that in terms of sign up and the full sports, just so people don't miss their opportunity. I know there are some parents whose kids are in PSL.
Yeah, I have a son
Tom,
who's,
would you like to?
yeah, sure. I have a son who's doing tennis, and Stuyvesant actually has wonderful sports community all across the board, from fencing to basketball, football, and so on. So I think it's a very robust program. We did notice some sign-up difficulties in the process. So I think the rule of thumb at Stuy is remember the buffet approach. Go get it. Don't be shy. Talk to the AP of athletics program, write them emails. I think sometimes reach out to the captains. Anyway, just double up, triple up your approach to showing your enthusiasm for that. But once you're in, I think it's an amazing sort of program to be part of, because you have another family that you belong to, and it's a wonderful way to just get comfortable with each other, build up teamwork. I think the process has been very positive for us. So I highly recommend it.
Just to piggyback real quick on Mr. Yu and put in a plug, all of the parents that have received their Talos account, you should have received it, and we are going to send that out to our program for discovery participants as well soon. So you probably are already receiving, or if you haven't received, this week was the first time you received my weekly update. So read it and please try to read it as soon as school is going to be opening in late August and September, because you will find out when those PSAL tryouts are, and you'll be directed to our school website in our news boxes and clicking athletic news to know when those tryouts are, because we do have some teams that begin their tryouts in late August, but don't start canceling vacations, please, because you do not have to tell mom and dad that there's no way you're going on that great trip. Go on vacation, because when school opens in the fall, there will be another opportunity. And we will post them on our school website. We will post them on as many as we can in the weekly update. So please look out for it. And I think that there was another parent who wanted to.
Yeah, I will just add, I'm not an expert, but there are forms that you do need to fill out to join a PSAL sport that does include needing your doctor to sign off on your child trying out. So if you have a physical scheduled for the summer, you do need those forms, or if you don't have a physical scheduled for the summer, you might want to reach out to your doctor's office and make sure that you have the appropriate form, so that if you're trying out for a fall sport, that you are eligible, because you will need to hand those in immediately, I guess, upon trying out. And I'm not sure, maybe somebody from the administration knows more about that, but I know that I was in a rush to get some of that in late August, and it's not always as fast with some of your doctors, especially if you need a physical.
If you're taking that, make sure you make a copy of it.
Both good responses there, because that's very, very important. And again, we do have to follow guidelines for participation in PSAL. Again, this year was a little bit, well, it's definitely abbreviated, and we had to make some decisions around what sports we were going to be able to offer. But what we have learned, or we're continuing to learn, is that it's expected that all of the sports will resume for the next school year. Both fall and spring sports. And so again, we do have an abundance of team sports that are available. And, I think one of the things that was pointed out is we've got a large number of students. And so, there are tryouts and, not everyone is going to make it, but there are a number of different ways to continue to participate. And there's a lot of learning to do from that as well, because, many of our students who didn't make it their freshman year do make it, as they continue through their 4 years. And again, I think that experience really is worthwhile, particularly as you learn, the teamwork aspect, and again, representing our school. It's been a delight. I've gotten to go see a few activities this year in this abbreviated season, and really just to watch the young people compete. And really, I think just having fun with one another, I think is so important. But again, as you are thinking about participating, be sure to connect with your doctor, make sure you get your physical, and then we'll have the forms readily available. So if we are starting in August, or when we start in August, we'll make sure that everyone's aware so that you're up to date on the information for PSAL.
If I can just jump in also about the extracurriculars, I do think it's especially important for freshmen, because obviously for a lot of kids who are coming in and their parents, the priority is going to be on academics and, the wonderful opportunities that are at Stuy, but there are also wonderful opportunities with these extracurriculars, and including in getting sort of their own group of friends together. As someone who went to Stuy years and years and years ago, a lot of my friends I was on the football team for 2 years. People I'm still friends with now. I was on Antares, which was the science fiction magazine. Still friends with now all these years later. And I think it's going to be a little scary especially for kids coming from smaller schools to a school that's 3,500 or so people, is that big. So I do think it's a great opportunity, especially if it's a shared interest and something they're passionate about, and they can find any of that at Stuy. I think it's a great way to start off their Stuy careers.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Ethan. One question that came in multiple shapes and forms is the question, how do I get the information from Stuyvesant? So we already heard about 2 different channels. So once you're subscribed, you will be getting the emails from Dina, and do make sure you read them. There's all the information you need to know will be there. In addition, we did say, make sure you sign up, go to stuy-pa.org, you sign up for the Parents Association newsletter. It will have some supplemental information, some separate events, some other things. But we actually would like students to talk about how they communicate with Student Buddy, and also maybe students and also then parents talk about what ways they found most useful in terms of learning about learning experience of their kids, about grades, about any feedback from teachers. So if students could maybe pick that question first, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to. So the main form of communication, as was already brought up, is Facebook. So even though it does sound a little weird, because kids aren't technically usually on Facebook, but whatever, forget that when you're coming into Stuy. Everything that you will learn will be through Facebook. Most things, all of the Facebook groups for the sports teams, the extracurriculars like sing, speech and debate, SU, all of those updates will be coming through both email and through Facebook. So please, even if you're not active, constantly posting, it is a very useful resource to have, because I know every single one of my classes, I don't know about Aaron and Daniela, but every single one of my classes at Stuy so far, in my 3 years, has had a messenger group. And it is, because for every single class, there's always going to be, something that may have not been heard in class, so someone missed out on something. But yeah, so this is like just student to student. The school doesn't really, send us Facebook updates, but at all. So yeah, so also a lot of like project groups, all of that will always be through Messenger, just because it is one of the most like streamlined forms of communication. So yeah, I really can't stress this enough. Please get Facebook before you come into Stuy, because it's also a great way just to, if you find someone interesting in a Messenger group or in one of your classes and you want to ask them if you want to be partners for a project, right? You can just reach out to them on Messenger, establish that friendship if you're not friends with them, or just talk to people, right? It's a great resource. But most of the emails, most of the communication from the school does come through email, and some SU updates will also be coming through email.
Thank you. Daniela, Aaron, anything else to add about specifically grades maybe? How do you learn? How do you hear from your teachers outside of classes? How is that? Go ahead.
Yeah, so a lot of our different teachers use their own different platforms for grades. So one of the big ones that Stuy is Jupiter Ed, and a lot of the time teachers will use that to communicate our grades to us, but also different assignments, and you can turn stuff in through there. In addition, Google Classroom is a big one, so that's a big way for us to get assignments and also get feedback on a paper or a project we submit. And there isn't really one standardized way that we get communication about grades until our report cards, which we get every marking period and at the end of the semester. But teachers are very transparent about what they use and what you can use to reach out to them and get more information. So that's really helpful.
Thank you. Thank you. Parents, anything to add? Your experience of learning about your children's academic successes?
Just a quick note from our side was, I think this is where the step up happens, where the students are more accountable, they're more self-sufficient. So they need to be aware of, be a better time manager and also schedule manager. And for parents who used to be like the manager right behind, I think that role continues to get sort of pushed back a little bit, and you have to be more of just give them space, give them opportunity to make mistakes, but also be there for support. And instead of just constantly handing them stuff and being their, road manager, I think you need to sort of step back and help them through the process of just maturing and being more accountable.
Can I just also just chime in to, the one thing that this community is very proactive, and we constantly are communicating in a variety of mediums. So again, I think students have a vehicle for communicating, through social media and other, other platforms. Same thing with our staff, and the same thing with families. I think the big thing here, there are kind of two things that I want everyone to walk away with. One is there's such an abundance of information, and I think we've all come to an understanding that we've got to be able to streamline it so that we make sure that everyone understands what are the key information that, again, is going to be important, so that everyone has it and everyone has access to it. And then the second thing too is we're always trying to make sense of information, and we're in a world now where like news travels very, very fast. So one of the good things that occurs in our community is that there are constant questions, and that's the best thing that we can do, is we can continue to ensure that we're clarifying information, that we're ensuring that there's accuracy. So again, this is part of the beauty of our community, is that we're constantly engaging with one another. We do use a number of different platforms, and again, I think that's going to be important. The school primarily is via email and through our newsletters, but again, every one of our constituency groups has their form of communicating, and we just want to make sure everyone has access to it. And then clearly, if they have questions, we want to be able to answer them, so that, again, everyone is on the same page and we're moving in the same direction.
Thank you, Mr. Yu. I also
can I add something, Dina, if it's okay, is that just for the parents, we do have parent-teacher conferences, and it was great. I mean, when my daughter was a freshman, they were in person, and you ran around, you didn't have to sign up in advance or anything. So you were able to run around the school and see every teacher that your student had. And this year, even though it was remote, it was fantastic, because you just signed up online, and then the school did everything for you, and they called you at home. And to point out, as I think Laura said earlier, the teachers knew exactly who my child was, and they had the answers to my questions, and they were great. And also office hours, where the kids could go to office hours with the teachers, and an email. There was so many ways to get in touch with the teachers. And as Thomas pointed out, yes, sometimes you have to push your kids to be more independent and do it themselves, but everybody made themselves so about, especially Dina. I mean, Dina makes herself available 24/7. I hope I'm not putting that out there, but
that's really an exaggeration on the
answering all the questions all the time. But between parent-teacher conferences and the phone calls, there was, I've spoken to every teacher my daughter's ever had, and it's been incredibly easy and really great and really helpful.
Thank you, Patty. I wanted to add as well, for our incoming families, that Currently, this year, we did use 2 platforms, both Jupiter Ed and Pupil Path, so that our students and our families could have forward-facing gradebooks. And we do have a list of expectations for our teachers and for our students that are all visible on the school website and on Talos in our document hub. So that will give you more information as well. And Alex had asked the question of how you get information. You know, specifically for you, incoming families, you should have already received from me. If you if you're joining our Discovery program, you will receive it by next week and probably this week, the information through Talos. You will receive the account that there's an incoming portal. And every one of our department heads has written a letter for our incoming families to read about their departments, and there are forms there. So you are going to find a lot of information. You're going to be getting updates from out of Ms. Pedrick's office. You will be getting from our pupil accounting secretary some forms that you need to fill out for immunization, like we talked about. So please, please, right in the beginning, you have a place to go for a lot of information about Stuyvesant, but we do utilize gradebooks, our website, and Talos right now, and keep you informed that way. And while it's true that we don't use social media to update you, that's not the first way you're going to find out things, hopefully, from us. You may find it on Twitter from the mayor or the chancellor, and make no guarantees there. So they might beat us to it. But you do get through emails through the school, and we do have social media official sites on Instagram and on Facebook and LinkedIn, and there's one more. I should know because I update it. But we do have social media for Stuyvesant that all linked to, it's Twitter. I just mentioned Twitter too. And so we do have all 4 that you can look to for social media. There was one question I would love to entertain for Mr. Yu to talk about, because we do have one other document that's great for you to read as incoming parents that is on the school website, and I will link it to you. Stuyvesant is talked about a lot in the newspaper. Mr. Yu had made that clear. You know, we're highlighted a lot, whether it's about the culture here or the recent piece that you may have seen on mental health. And so I just wanted to pose the question to Mr. Yu to expand upon our commitments there.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Ingram, on that. You know, I think there's a lot that we learned this year, particularly around the social, emotional, and mental health of young people. You know, this year was clearly not an ideal year for any young person, and much less families. It was really challenging, and you know, we had to make some decisions about how we were going to navigate the year. And I think one of the things that really came out is, you know, young people have a lot to deal with. Just being a teenager, much less all the other things, including academics and, you know, their extracurricular, college, all of those things. So, you know, being in a high performing school like Stuyvesant and being surrounded by other high performing peers can feel overwhelming, can feel challenging. But as you're hearing tonight from our families and from other students, there is a place for every student, and there is an opportunity, you know, again, around the types of friendships, the types of camaraderie that allow you to really grow in the school. We're making a commitment, and we have around mental health and well-being. We know our young people, we've seen when they are feeling good, when they're positive, when they're optimistic, just how amazing they are. And there's so many latent talents as well as just explicit talent that they possess. And we saw that throughout the year, you know, again, not only through the academics, but more so through all of the different activities, whether it's through music, orchestra, chorus, production, sports. And, you know, these are the things that require us as the adults to continue to prioritize, but also encouraging our young people to engage in those activities. We are known for our academics, and we'll continue to be known for academics, but we're equally known for all of the other activities that make Stuyvesant what it is. When I talk to our young people, of course, we talk about AP courses or the electives and the kind of just the overall kind of intellectual stimulation they get, but they also talk about all the different things that they do
right when the bell ends, and staying in the building, and meeting with their friends and their advisors around the ways that they are kind of unveiling their talents. We've got to continue to emphasize that. We need to continue to find balance for our young people, where they can continue to have high expectations academically, but also finding and exploring their curiosities. And I think Ms. Carey said this, which I really, really think is so important. Uh, you have to take a chance, and you have to have some courage, and explore, because again, there are a number of different activities, there are a number of different opportunities, but it does take a step forward. And we as a school and we as a community also have to make sure that we're encouraging that step. We have to help you to be able to find those opportunities, to really encourage you. And just like with our Big Sib said, we're going to have a lot of influence of our older students who can help kind of lead the way. But this is work that we need to continue to work on. This year, we created a document called our commitments document that we'll continue to follow and we'll continue to add on. And it's essentially a public document about our commitments that the school staff, that our families, and our students were going to engage in. We made it public because, one, we're holding ourselves accountable to this. And listen, it's a work in progress. It's not a finger pointing, you're not doing this enough, but it's a way for us to have those conversations around what's working and what needs to be improved. And that's part of the complexity of again, what I said before in our community. We're not afraid to engage in those conversations, even if it's really challenging. But the goal here is that our young people are going to have an incredible 4 years, an indelible 4 years. And I've said this when I first started, I loved high school. And I want our young people to love high school. And I know our families want that. And I know that because this year in particular was challenging. But when you see that, and you can see the light, particularly within our young people and their ability to demonstrate all that all the potential that they have, that's what continues to encourage us. And those are the conversations that we need to continue to have. There's a lot more work that we have to do, whether it's engaging in conversations around equity, whether it's around conversations around workload, whether there's conversations around how do you navigate, an environment where everyone's high performing, but you can also, find your place and be equally as high performing, but in your own way. And that's the beauty, I think, of Stuyvesant High School is there's so many ways to find who you are and what you're capable of. But there's clearly more work that not only Stuyvesant has to do, but I think across the city around ensuring that young people continue to stay healthy, continue to find ways to be productive in all facets of their life, because we want to see smiling young people. And I know our families want to see that when they come home. But there's plenty of work to do. And again, this is not something that we're going to shy away from. We're going to confront it head on, and we'll continue to confront it because we want our young people to be productive so that you can see across the 3,300+ students what you're seeing tonight with Aaron, Alec, and Daniela. This is what we're hoping for, that we're going to continue to cultivate an environment in which our young people are original thinkers, independent, and leaders. And that's what we're going to continue to strive for.
Thanks so much, Mr. Yu. I'm not sure, Ms. Pedrick, do you want to talk a little bit about the counseling part of this?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Yu. Couldn't have said that better, and very proud of these commitments that we're making forward facing for our community, and being able to say that, we have our wonderful counselors at Stuyvesant. Make use of them. Go to them for resources. Go to them for generic things. You're not just going to them to say, I broke up with my significant other, or I had a fight last night with my parents. And then speaking of parents, so much of this happens in the home. So we really hope that you can envelop your student in a lot of support, to be able to talk to them about things that are not school related. Ask them questions. What kind of superhero power would you love to have? Or if you could travel back in time, what historic event would you like to see, rather than just what did you get on that math test, or are you studying for that biology project that I know you have coming up on Friday? So if you're able to acknowledge your child as an independent person, don't compare them to siblings or cousins or neighbors or fellow students, and just love watching the evolution of the person that they are becoming, they're going to get through high school just fine.
And parents can meet the counselors too. I've met my daughter's counselor multiple times, and it's great. We can be there together, and you know, it's a good way to help your child if they're a little shy, and get to know them. So you can be there with your counselor as a parent at the parent teacher conferences, or just email them as well.
Definitely. Sounds great. Let me jump in with the next question. I actually wanted to ask Alec, Danielle, and Aaron about their freshman year. So what was your experience? What did you do during lunch? How did you meet your friends? And the last one, and I'm just gonna throw it, what did you find the best, or what do you think would be helpful to do before the year starts to make, to make the most of it so you're better prepared? So Aaron, if you don't mind, I'm gonna ask you to answer first.
Yeah, no problem. So I think my experience is a little bit more different than most Stuyvesant students because I came from a middle school where I had a lot of friends that I knew who also came to Stuy. So when I got to Stuy, I already had a sort of friend group. But I know many students who came to Stuy without friend groups, and so I would recommend joining extracurriculars. So one of the first extracurriculars I joined when I came to Stuy was the student union. And upon joining the student union, while it's more of like a professional setting, you also get to work with a lot of people on lots of projects, and you get to know a lot of people who aren't just in your grade as well. And while it can seem a little bit intimidating to speak to seniors or juniors as a freshman, I think those are really valuable connections to make, and just getting to know them was really good. I also think that another part where transitioning to Stuyvesant can also help is to find people who commute to school with you. Um, like I said, I knew a lot of people from my middle school, and some of us commuted together. I also met other students who also shared the same commute. So commute can be a really nice way to get to know one another and to do things that are outside of school together. As for other freshman experiences that I've had, um, I think one of the things I came to Stuyvesant thinking was that I was going to be a sort of Renaissance man. I was going to join every single club. I was going to join some Science Olympiad. I was going to join speech and debate. I was going to join the student union, the newspaper, everything. But if I could offer one advice to all those incoming freshmen, is you need to pace yourself. You need to understand that you don't have to join every single club to be the best, I guess. You don't need to join every club to feel happy at Stuyvesant. You need to join clubs that you feel happy joining, not clubs you're joining for the sake of college. And I think if I could just give one advice, it's just to do what makes you happy. Like live and enjoy your 4 years at Stuyvesant, or 3 years if you're an incoming sophomore. But just enjoy your experience because time really does fly quickly. I'm going to be graduating next year, and I can still hardly believe that. So yeah.
Just a little,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Alec.
Alec, go ahead, and then we'll let you
sorry.
run, and then
I'll keep
we'll
it
ask
brief.
Mystery.
I'll keep it brief. So I had a little bit of a different experience in terms of making friends than Aaron, but a very similar experience in terms of extracurriculars. So I came in, there were a couple people from my school that, that came in with me, but I didn't really have like a lunch period with them or any classes with them. So freshman year, I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't this feeling of like being alone and like no one being there for me. It was actually a little exciting. And I'm like a little bit more of a social person, so it could be different for other people, but just this idea of not starting completely anew, but all of these different people that I haven't interacted with before. It's just so overwhelming in terms of, wow, like there's so many different people with different perspectives, interests, backgrounds that I can, meet. And I actually met a lot of my friends in like the first couple of weeks of school by just sitting in class, not knowing what was going on. This is not a very frequent occurrence, I promise, but sometimes there'll be points that you might, glaze over because you're tired or whatever it may be, and you'll turn to the person next to you and go, wait, what did they just say? Right. And from that, I have some of my best friends like that to this day, to 3 years, and by just either losing, getting lost on the way to class together, or turning to someone right next to me and asking what the homework was or something along those lines. But yeah, so that's something that even if you aren't, a very social person, if you're not necessarily comfortable in these kinds of situations, you're going to be able to make friends just because of the sheer amount of opportunities to do so, because you need other people to really get through Stuy, and it doesn't work really otherwise. Even if you are more of a lone wolf kind of person, there are going to be situations in which you'll find yourself, relying on a friend, or, just relying on the people around you. And, extracurriculars are obviously super important. Like Aaron said, not overwhelming yourself and only joining what you're actually very interested in. And that's also just a great way to find like-minded people, differently minded people, and just making friends and getting adjusted to the Stuyvesant life, if you will.
Thank you. Thank you. Thomas, I know you also wanted to contribute.
Oh yeah, and I think both Alec and Aaron gave very good perspectives. I just wanted to offer a parental perspective for all you concerned and perhaps a little bit overly concerned parents, because I think the freshman year is a year of exploration, and also it's a year of setting your bar. If you set your bar way too high, it can really overwhelm you. And I think sometimes, just for college, also admissions concerns, and this is way down the road, but I think most colleges are looking for upward trend. So they're not looking for super performer from freshman year and just keep it burning the whole 4 years, but they're looking for people who are, methodical, exploratory, and that they continue to find their comfort zone and continue to excel and have an upward trajectory so that they demonstrate their potential in college. So, just keep that in the back of your mind, so that it wasn't, that you're not just like pushing and maybe encouraging a little too much. just a little, offering a little more perspective on things.
Yeah, if I could add one more thing too, is I remember, when we were, this is a Zoom, of course, but when we came to freshman orientation, people keep talking about how big Stuy is. It's so big, it's so big, it's so big. But like any big place that you come to be a member of the community, eventually it becomes very small. And there was people that my daughter, we just saw passing in the hallway at freshman orientation, and here 2 years later, they're in a class with her. So it's not as though there's just millions of people walking around and you're lost all the time. Eventually, the community does become smaller, and you get, as you're finding and knowing more people, and you'd be surprised how many people, you can consider amongst your friends and colleagues and classmates at a school that feels very large.
I just want to piggyback on what Patty said, because one of my favorite things about Stuyvesant is that we like to call it a city, the city that never sleeps. We just keep going. We have so much going on, but every city, just like Stuy, is totally made up of villages and towns, and then right back down to your little community and your little neighborhood. And that's what Stuy becomes. You find, your tribe in your little neighborhood, and, your little community, and it goes very far, because you'd be surprised at how many names you remember, even though there's thousands, and how you get to know and make, your best friends for life.
Can I just piggyback, just kind of touch on what Mr. Sack said earlier, just about the friendships he made back when he attended Stuyvesant. And again, I think our students have always done well. They've continued to matriculate to college, and the college that matches with them. And I think that's really an important thing. And I think Mr. Yu said it as well. It's just like, again, colleges want to see continued growth, and that's something that, again, young people can showcase in their 4 years. But the most important thing is what Aaron said. It's like, there are so many things where you can build those friendships by meeting other people. Again, keeping a good pace in terms of thinking about the things that you really want to do. And again, when you see our young people as productive as they are, usually because they're happy and they found their spots, both with the academics as well as with the other ways engaging with other young people and finding the things that they're really interested in. So again, completely understand the anxiety and, particularly for families, but, as you can, and I said in the very beginning, relax. A lot of our students are amazing. Our families are amazing. And again, it's 4 years and it'll go by quickly. It will go by quickly. So we want you to enjoy it along the way.
Thank you. Thank you. One kind of just related to what we just said. So freshman year, is there homework for the freshmen before they come in, reading lists? And back to Aaron, like what would you do? And maybe we'll first focus on the homework and either Dina or Ms. Frederick, if you don't mind, maybe talking about that. And then we also would like to talk a little bit about Camp Stuy after that. I know a lot of people were intrigued.
Well, I can start us off. So there, Alex, you had asked a couple of questions in the beginning. Remind me if I'm leaving things out. They were, because I'm reading so many questions at the same time. So maybe you can go over just the first two that you asked.
So basically, what do you, is there summer homework for freshmen, and how do you prepare yourself for, for the first year?
There is in the incoming portal, one of the documents, and we do email a summer assignment for math for all incoming students. It is not a test. It is an assignment. It helps teachers to assess, where you're at, if you have your foundational skills in algebra. And so we encourage everyone to do that assignment. We also, our librarians post reading lists on the school website, on their own library website that are linked. That's linked. The library has a section of our website at stuy.edu. And those reading lists are not required reading. They are suggestions. They're just suggestions to enjoy. So we are not assigning any reading over the summer.
I think, Principal, you actually said the summer homework, RELAX. We all need to recharge after this 16 months that we've been living through. So take the summer, relax, read a book for pleasure.
Sounds, that's a great advice. Excellent advice. So now Camp Stuy, potential timing of it, if anything is known. And I know, Dina, you did say, please do not change your vacation plans, but just if there are any key days that we can share or kind of approximately, so people are kind of better prepared.
Let's start with what is Camp Stuy for those of us who might not have heard those words before. So it is a orientation of sorts for both students and parents, but on separate days because it's separate messaging and separate concerns that they're bringing to the table. So ordinarily, that Thursday, that first Thursday in June that your son or daughter had off from their public school would have been our first Camp Stuy part 1, we call it. But calling that camp is really misleading because it is really made up of like getting your ID picture taken, taking the swim test, math placement, language placement. So, but all led also through our Big Sibs, who are also starting the socialization process with your kitty. So no worries that we missed out on that aspect of things this past June, because we're going to have a nice and robust Camp Stuy for August. We usually have it that last week of August, so we are still looking at that last week, but forgive us as we're concentrating on getting our kitties graduated this week. But Ms. Ingram and I are looking at that last week of August, which is like that August 30, 31, September 1, 2, that area. Ordinarily, it would be a half day for students, one set in the morning, one set in the afternoon, and then just the morning for parents. We are, trying to think ahead and think how people would be comfortable in receiving the information in August, just a couple months away. So we're likely to stick to that week, but maybe spread the groups out a little bit more so that there's more room for all of us to spread our 3-foot wide wings that we have. So Ms. Ingram, if you want to chat about that parent portion.
Yes, so there is a Camp Stuy for parents. And as Ms. Pedrick mentioned, there's one for students, and they get to meet with their Big Sibs and meet their school counselor and divide up. And there's also a theater part, hopefully in person if we can, but we will get back to you on everything like that, that you will get to meet again with Mr. Yu, Ms. Pedrick, and I, and then also go into the building and see some of our other administrators. There is a parent portion, and you will be invited in, and you do not, like Alex had mentioned, please don't cancel your vacation plans for this one time, because we're looking forward to seeing you a lot and to giving you a lot of presentations. We even have developed our grade specific workshops, and we begin off the year in September with what we call Stuy 101. And it is an evening presentation where we do that for our freshman parents. And it is a presentation. It is not a panel discussion, but so you're going to hear so many different things about what you really need to know just coming in. So, and we do that also, those incoming sophomores that are in our audience, don't you worry, you're not left out. You're incoming, and we let you come to the freshman workshop, but we also let you come to the sophomore one because you are sophomore parents. So we do have that coming up also later in the year, and we have a presentation as an introduction for our college office in that as well. So we're going to take good care of you. So if for some reason it conflicts with a vacation, please don't cancel anything. Please do relax on this summer. Also, all of our parents and Aaron here have gone through Camp Stuy at some point. So if you would like to express any of your views, please do jump in.
Oh, I'm going to jump in first. I mean, this is definitely a great opportunity to learn more about school and to just get acquainted and to meet other parents. So I'll tell you one of the most, and I think pretty much everyone on the panel already talked about it, one of the huge things, meet other folks. Yes, it is an experience of your student, but it's also very much your experience. And in many cases, if you would like to learn anything more about school than how are things good, get involved. That would be your opportunity to learn things and to know what's happening.
Thank you, Alex.
Anybody else wants to jump in?
Was there someone else who wanted to talk? I think I might have cut someone off. No? Okay. Well, there are so many more. I know that there are so many more questions coming in, more so than we will ever have time to go over tonight. But some of the things that you really want to learn about Stuy, and maybe some of our administrators and our parents can jump in, is when will schedules come out? And what do freshmen take? What is the incoming schedule going to be like? So anyone that would like to start, please do go ahead. Okay, if I have no takers, I'm going to call on Ms. Pedrick to let us know what a typical freshman day is going to look like.
Well, you wake up in the morning and little birds and woodland creatures help you to get dressed and collect your homework in a nice, neat manner. So now you come into Stuy, you're either going to start at an 8 a.m. start time or 8:45, depending on if you are period 1 or period 2. You're going to have all of your core classes. That's math, English, social studies, science, world languages, physical education. And then you're, depending on what semester it is, you might have an art class, a music appreciation class, a health class. So as a freshman, you're not going to have, like choices. We're going to tell you what you're going to take and you're going to love it. And then you're going to have opportunities. Usually there is at least one free period in addition to lunch built into your days. So you have a chance to visit with any of your teachers who have frees at that same time. Our writing center, a lot of students love to spend their free period in our wonderful library, doing some research or getting some advice from our awesome library staff over there. Also, we didn't even touch upon this, but guess what? Stuy kids are allowed to go out for lunch and their free periods. And I always say, why do we let them do that? Because it's a daily phenomenon. They come back. Any other school, you send them out for lunch, that's it. You're going to see them around Christmas time. But these kids, they come actively back. They want to go to physics class. They want to go to their, lab class. They're really excited to be able to come back. So they go out, they get a little fresh air. We have a beautiful array of parks and walking places around our school. We're very fortunate to have this billion-dollar view. So you get a little bit of recharge, you'd be able to come back in to start the rest of your day. And during, a little bit of after school, there's some homework happening in the hallways. There's little clusters, but there's also a lot of after school activities going on, going off to the tennis courts in the case of Mr. Yu's son that are just, right up the West Side Highway from our school, or shooting the basketball around. So there's lots to do after school too.
Thank you, Ms. Pedrick. I'm going to jump in and say that schedules for the freshmen, you'll see them at Camp Stuy, hopefully. You'll see the tentative schedule, but your full schedule will come out just a few days before school begins in September. And along those lines of, we're going to give you classes and you're going to like it. We do need to know what you already took. And we do ask you your preferences for language. So you do have some choices there. And we need you to fill out those forms on Talos. So to help us assign programming, please do let us know what your preferences are in those areas. And I'm so happy that Ms. Pedrick also answered our lunch question. So you are allowed out for lunch and for free periods, and there will be forms that will follow up with that. And maybe Aaron can talk about a little bit about, so we're going to let all these kids out into Battery Park City, and do Big Sibs help at all with that, with the kids? We're just going to let them out. How do we deal with that? How do we teach them?
Yeah, so Big Sibs, I think, are also a really essential part of the freshman experience, because as a freshman, if you're not coming from a school where a lot of your friends maybe got into Stuyvesant as well, Big Sibs are just going to really be there for you. And while the program is revolved around Big Sibs being mentors for freshmen, most often we see Big Sibs and freshmen, their little Sibs, get really close and become really good friends. So I remember when I was a little Sib, that was like 3 years ago, I can't believe it. But when I was a little Sib at Stuyvesant, my Big Sibs really introduced me to a lot of the places around Stuyvesant. There's lots of food places that we kids call ferries and terries, and there's even a Whole Foods nearby. And the Whole Foods is another area where I think a lot of kids like to congregate, especially in the upstairs part where there's a lot of seating. And often kids might go there after school to do homework together, to talk together, and there's lots of tables to sit together. So you'll always be with your people, I would say. And especially as a freshman, you'll always be accompanied by your Big Sibs, and you can really get to know a lot more people through Big Sibs. I feel like the thing is, at Stuyvesant, there's so many people, and you probably won't get to know everyone by the time you graduate. But the thing is that knowing one person and forming a connection with them really introduces you to the people they know. And through this intricate web of connections, you'll really get to know a lot of people better. And through that, you'll get to know the area around, because people will introduce you to their favorite food places. They'll really introduce you to places that they like to hang out. And ultimately through that, you'll really find yourself getting used to Stuy.
I also just want to chime in. We do also have a cafeteria, so you don't actually have to leave the building if you don't want, and you have a beautiful view of the Hudson as well. And just also adding on to what Ms. Pedrick said, our job is to make sure that our freshmen, have the foundation to set them on course for the next 4 years, or over the course of their 4 years, and meeting all graduation requirements. So again, you will enjoy the courses that you will be taking, and you'll be on your way to meeting all the graduation requirements and beyond.
Thank you, Mr. Yu. We did not mean to skip the fact that we also serve lunch to every student. So of course you can go to our school cafeteria and you can have lunch. And I always say on every single tour that our students have the absolute best view of any 5-star restaurant in Manhattan, because where else can you sit in a school cafeteria and have a complete water view of the Hudson? So it is the best view in the house if you stay and eat lunch in school. So thank you, Mr. Yu, for bringing that out. I know that there's still a lot of details, and Alex, I know you have a lot of questions to ask too. Do you want to go ahead and jump in?
Sure. One of the very popular questions about the fall is that what time is school going to start? I think that's that works. So Principal Yu or Casey, if you have an answer to that question, that would be terrific.
8 a.m. or 8:45, depending on if you start at first period or second period.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that. Another popular question is that, do you need devices? Do students need devices while they're at school? And if they do, what, any specific place where they can get some recommendations of what needed?
Yes, we do require every student to have the latest iPhone. Yeah. Every student's cheering right now. So there's no requirement of any particular device, but if you do have a device, we find our teachers are very flexible with letting students use them in the classes, or otherwise you're using them in the hallways, or you're sitting at that cafeteria and catching up on some homework while eating.
I also just want to chime in. I think this year we learned the importance of devices, but we also learned the importance of interaction. And so next year, as we go into the school year, one of the things that we are going to emphasize is building those relationships. And so the human to human interaction without the Zoom boxes, I think will also be really helpful. So, if we do ask students to bring any device, we'll be sure to let everyone know. But I just want to emphasize, the excitement for next year is that we're going to see each other face to face, and we're going to continue building on those relationships.
Thank you. Thank you. One very popular question is about the auditions for bands and chorus and various musical groups. So if somebody could please talk about that and how that's going to happen this coming year, that would be terrific.
I would love for our student and our parents to expand on their experience if they have students in any of our musical ensembles. But I will say that as it relates to our incoming families, I know that many of you are waiting. The students are waiting for their Stuy.edu emails and their Talos accounts. And I'm very happy to say that I received all of that today, and it will be going out tomorrow. So you will obtain your Stuy.edu email because it will be your username to your Talos account. And you will use that Talos account to also go over the responsibilities involved in having a Stuy.edu email. You will accept that in Talos, and just like magic, we will give you the password to your Stuy.edu Google account. And that is how you go to your Google Classrooms for the auditions. And it's explained in the portal. You will, because we are virtual this year, normally during Camp Stuy, you get to go to our music rooms and audition in person. This year, just as we did last year, we will accept uploaded videos in the Google Classroom for each musical ensemble class. There is a Google Classroom password, and you can upload a video for our teachers to review. And we do have a beginner band class. We're not looking, don't feel that you needed to play, an instrument for the, since you're 5 to audition, please. And I would love for our parents and students to expand on their experience with music, if they have any in these ensembles.
Dr. Winkle is wonderful. He is he's a master, he's a maestro, and he knows how to teach children who have never played that particular instrument. My son got to explore French horn. He got to explore other instruments. So you don't have to be, a certain level to get in, I think. So that the band experience was very enriching, and it was a very wonderful experience for him. So I highly recommend it.
And for those that have learned instruments for any number of years, there are different levels of orchestras, and of course we have different choruses. And I have to say the music teachers, the music department has done an amazing job. There are so many different, either a cappella or student form their own chamber music groups. And if your child is interested, has been playing or interested in learning, I know there was a new music instrument club. They are the kids, they already learn certain instruments for a number of years. They offer to teach kids that are interested in picking up a new instrument, especially strings. Look out for music instrument club. That's a little bit advertisement for club. I don't know if it's allowed here or not. But going back to the orchestra, every year there are 2 concerts. That's really, you come, you will see. It's really amazing. And they also have a YouTube channel. So if you're interested and try to see, what kind of level and what kind of repertoire, I have to say there were 2 pieces that can probably tell you a little bit about the level of the school orchestra. There were 14-piece instruments, and it was no conductor. It was totally student rehearsed, and they play the Bach double concerto with a chamber ensemble, 14 pieces total, and without a conductor, and 14 kids on stage, and it was one of the piece. And the other one was and we had a fantastic pianist who conducted and played Mozart piano concerto first movement from the piano, conducting the orchestra at the same time. I still have goosebumps thinking about that event. So if you're interested in music, you're really in a very good place.
I also think it doesn't, I think it doesn't have to all be classical, because I think a lot of kids take guitar, and that there's guitars available. You can even learn how to make guitars, but there's also guitars available to play outside the music room. And, so there's room for all sorts of musicians.
I also want to mention theater, because when my daughter first got to school, one of the things that attracted her to Stuyvesant was the newspaper. But when she actually arrived, a friend of hers from before was in the Stuy Theater Club, the STC, and almost right away they had auditions for a production, and she didn't have any experience. She, she knew some dancing, and so she joined a production, and then the next production she was doing costume making and things like that. So with theater, there's so many facets of it. And there's just an incredible theater, an actual auditorium, and incredible facilities. So I think that's a great way, for varying levels of experience to find a great club experience.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Dina, I know we only have a couple of minutes left, so I'm not sure if you wanted to address specific questions that you had in mind.
Well, I know that we have so many more questions to go over, more than we could possibly read during this session. And so, of course, I usually try to address those questions, or at least put out a form with some of the questions that were answered and address some of them. I know we talked about what time, so I'm going to give a few last minute details, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Yu for any concluding comments. We talked about what time school started, but we didn't talk about what time it ends. So depending on your schedule, we have a 1 to 10 day that we're planning for next year. And so extracurriculars will begin, they usually begin at 3:30 to 3:45, and they go until 5:30. That was also a question that was asked. And I know you're all wondering about the AP class process and what's available to you as for APs, but much of that, please, I'm going to encourage you one more time to read the department letters in the incoming portal in Talos. You can toggle the language. There are 5 different languages that every single one of our documents is translated in. So it appears to you in English, but that flag up in the right-hand corner allows you to choose to read everything in Chinese, all of our documents from our departments, and in Korean, in Bengali, and in Spanish. So I'm going to emphasize, please, reading the information that explains our placement process. We had questions about math team, the math assignment. We had questions about whether there will be a placement test. Please do try to read those documents, and you're going to find some answers there to many of your questions. And we're looking forward to seeing you in person and seeing your faces, because I know you can see us on this webinar, but we can't wait to see you. And Mr. Yu, if you have any concluding comments.
Sure. Just want to thank everyone again for taking and spending an evening with us. I want to again say thank you to our wonderful parents who offered their insights and experiences. These will be some faces you'll see next year as well, and probably frequently, which is always a good thing. And again, they've been in your shoes, so always more than willing to help. They were instrumental in my first year, trying to learn as much as I could. And listen, I felt the anxiety when I first started in August of 2020, and I feel so fortunate that I felt very supported, always wanting to answer any questions, and our parents and our families are tremendous, and they'll continue to support the school, and their dedication is second to none. I want to give a big shout out to Aaron, Alec, and Daniela. Student voice is so important, and again, I think the more we hear and listen to them, the better our school will be. You know, I think our young people have a lot of insights, have a tremendous amount of leadership, and are just really original, independent young people, and that's what we're striving for. And then again, to Ms. Ingram and Ms. Fedrick, for always offering their insights as a staff, and being able to make sure that we're continuing to connect all our members of our community. And then finally, to all of you, we are so excited that you will be joining our community. Again, you know, I know this is both an exciting time, also a very, you know, I'm sure exhausting time as you're concluding one year and already getting ready for the next one. But please know there is time. You know, you need a break, decompress, and then, you know, we're going to get restarted again in August and of course in September. We've got another school year ahead of us, and it's going to be an exciting one. We've learned a lot through this pandemic, and again, I think you know, you can see it in all of our faces, both a little bit of exhaustion, but also tremendous excitement about what next year is going to look like, and we will be together as a community. Still a few more updates that I'm sure the Department of Education and the mayor will also continue to provide us throughout the year, you know, leading up to the start of the school year. But we're all very, very hopeful, and you know, I can't tell you how excited I am to see the energy and excitement of our young people and staff and our families coming into the building. I have yet to see that, and I've been waiting for a year. So again, you can wait 2 months, and you know, trust me, we'll indulge together as we embark on this, you know, next step in our journey together. But thank you very much for spending some time with us. Please read the different you know, communication that's going to be coming your way, and do not hesitate to reach out to us. We're tremendously excited to have you join our school community. And again, Stuyvesant High School, one of a kind.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our panelists and our students for being here, Mr. Yu and Ms. Pedrick. And we're wishing everybody a great night. Don't worry, we will give you the recording and get back to you. So have a great night, everyone. And thank you for making the time to be here tonight.